Hey everybody, this is Mike with the One Stop Co-op Shop, and today I'm reviewing SAS Rogue Regiment, and disclaimer that I got a review copy for this one. In Rogue Regiment, you control between 1 to 4 varied operators, taking on stealth missions where you move around a grid like this, trying to avoid sentries and patrols, and complete missions like blowing up objectives, assassinations. Your characters get to use 4 action points to do things like move around and attack, and then patrols will advance in alternating fashion. New people will be spawned. You're also flipping event cards that can change up the makeup of the board and the troop behavior. And in general, most missions you want to get to your objective and complete it while making as little noise as possible, because once you set off the alarm, you'll have swarms of guys coming for you, and you have to get out and survive. So let's discuss 5 key things to know about SAS Rogue Regiment. So first, my number 5, which is a bit of a mix for my taste, is the full-on battling in the game, because this is definitely a stealth-focused game. They don't want you to be fighting most of the time. Your characters have varied weapons. They can shoot. It is dice-based combat, and although you can aim to increase your chances, you can miss key shots and just have the enemy turn around and shoot you back. But shooting a weapon too many times will trigger the alarm early, and once the alarm is on, you'll just have a billion submachine gun guys and other enemies coming after you, and you really can't survive very long. So yeah, don't come into this game looking for run and gun combat. That is not the style of play at all. Definitely focus on the stealth. For my number 4 point, I'm looking at the operators you control, and this is overall a pro. So there are only 4 in the game, which is not super impressive and earth-shattering, but they each have a second side that changes up their core equipment and gives them different special abilities. So it does feel pretty good. You kind of have like 8 options here. And they can do very different things in very fun ways. Like Patty has all these explosives and traps he can lay down. Anders can go through the water and become almost completely stealthy. You got a sniper. You got a guy who can kind of climb and get to positions that nobody else can reach and throw grenades and stuff. Now, I will say some of the scenarios kind of seem to make it obvious, at least to me, that like you should use this person or use that person. But there's nothing to say you can't try to challenge yourself and use sort of off-brand heroes for a given mission and just see how it goes. But in any case, comboing the abilities of the different operators is a lot of fun. My number 3 point is a pro for my taste, and that's the micro-turn structure of the game. The turns here are very fast. First, your operators get to move. They each get 4 action points, which means they might just move a little bit, maybe attack a single person. And often, like many stealth games, it'll be in their best interest just to kind of move closer and hang out for a round or 2. But because your turns are very fast, that doesn't feel too onerous. And the enemy turns are also super fast, at least until you're discovered. Because usually the only people that are moving or doing anything are patrols, and only half of them. You'll have white and black units on the board, and one round only the white patrols will move, and the next round only the black patrols. So the enemy turns also move extremely quickly. One caveat to this, though, once you get into the battle phase and you have like 50 people chasing after you, then it can be a little bit more annoying to resolve all of the enemy actions and stuff. But usually that's right when the mission is about to end and things are very tense, so it's not that big of an issue. And really, your turns are just so interesting and fun because you have such a limited number of action points, so every move you make and every step you take to try to get out of view and avoid the enemies can be quite impactful and exciting. For my number 2 point, which is a mix for my taste, I'm looking at the different missions in the game. And this one is going to depend greatly on your taste. I don't personally like to create my own missions in games. I don't like the sandbox nature of some games. So there's only 9 missions in the base game. They are quite varied, although the first like 3 are basically tutorials. So you don't get like a ton of them, but they do very different things like defense, assassination, like different things going on. But clearly a lot of the value in the game is counting on you to customize existing missions or change them up or make your own missions. And I will admit that it's very easy because they have a ton of different boards, each of them double-sided, and they already have like patrol routes and where guards should be on them, and you can just add a few to make things tougher. So it is super easy to put together your own missions, and if you like that kind of thing, this will be a full-on pro for you. But for me, with just 9 missions and some of them being tutorials, it could use a bit more replay since I don't really want to muck around with missions myself. And finally, my number 1 point, the thing that stands out the most about the game to me is the stealth itself. So I already mentioned some of these things, but you have a lot of predictability in the stealth. You know how the patrols are going to move and when they're going to move. You can see where the sentries are looking. Enemy visibility is quite limited and again predictable, so if you use terrain well, you can really like sneak around and pull off some cool tricks. It's also a stealth system that is not all or nothing, which I personally appreciate. Like if you get seen, you just have to try to kill the person who saw you. So it's a flexible stealth system that lets you try out different strategies and things things to make your way through. A few things to be aware of, though, that might not work for everybody. First of all, you do flip an event card each round, and these can have sentries and patrols suddenly like flip and go the opposite direction, which I think is great because it adds that little bit of chaos so you can't perfectly puzzle everything out. But people who are randomness averse might be annoyed that a sentry turning at the exact wrong time ruins their stealth kill. And then the other thing I find annoying, especially in the bigger maps, is that you kind of have to constantly be checking line of sight because terrain is so important and which enemies can see which enemies while you do like stealth kills and sneak around is so impactful that you have to like just constantly be using their line of sight tool or like your own line of sight solution. So it's just something to be aware of, again, especially when you're playing with more operators and a bigger map and just like more units that could see you. This can become a bit of an annoyance at times. So overall, you might want to check out SAS Rogue Regiment if you like stealth games, if you're a fan of those old video games like the Commando series where you have different people with different specialties and skills and you're combining them together, if you like a good puzzle. But on the other hand, you might want to avoid this one if randomness is a problem for you because, again, card flips and dice rolls can mess up your stealth. Or if you have no interest in buying expansions and only want to play the pre-printed missions and not make your own, eventually you might run out of variety to try out. And if you want to see the game in action, I have a playthrough that I posted recently on the channel. Thanks for watching, everybody. Good gaming, and I'll see you at the next stop.